Hi everyone, welcome back to Stephan Livera podcast. Today we're trying something a little bit different. We're going to try a shorter format, faster interviews. We're going to call this SLPfast, try to get through things with no fluff. So right to it. My guest rejoining me today is Stephan Roose from Second, which is they are the creators of Bark. So Stephan, welcome to the show. Welcome back. And give us the update. What's new with Bark? I know you guys just had your mainnet launch on June 9th.
Yeah, thank you for having me. We're very excited to announce that our Arc server is finally publicly available on Mainnet. So it's been about 2 years that we're developing an implementation of the Arc protocol. We call it Bark. It's a payments SDK using the Arc protocol. We've been on Signet for about a year. We have some dev tooling there. And for the last few months, we've been running a Mainnet server in beta. And last week, we announced this Mainnet server to be publicly available. We announced a few integrations. So there's a few people building wallets on top of the SDK. We have Noah Wallet, which is available for iOS and Android. It's built from scratch on our SDK. We also have Christoph from the Bitcoin design community who built RK Wallet, which is like a implementation of the design principles that the Bitcoin design team have been creating, also using our SDK. We also announced that AlbiHub is integrating Bark as one of their new experimental backends for the AlbiHub wallet. We built our own web wallet that we call Bark Wallet or Bark Web. We launched this on Umbrel. We're building also an implementation of this for Start9. We're basically packaging the web wallet for these like hosted on your at your home platforms. And we're also going to announce a BTC Pay server plugin with like one-click install configuration to be able to receive Lightning payments. So yeah, we're super excited with all of these integrations. It's been like a really exciting week for us. Yeah, excited.
So how does Bark solve Lightning's onboarding and liquidity problems?
Yeah, so the main reason for building this SDK was that we noticed that Lightning, while it's really good for routing payments, it's not so good for user experience at the edges. So if you want to have a self-custodial Lightning experience, if you want to run your own, like have your own keys, sign your own Bitcoin transactions, it comes with some like UX hurdles, mostly around on-chain transactions to maintain your channels and liquidity. So you need to manage your inbound liquidity if you want to be able to receive. You need to purchase liquidity, which comes with costs. So the Arc protocol makes it possible for users at the edge of the Lightning Network to be able to route Lightning payments without having these like technological burdens like channels. So Arc is like currently mostly like what we call last mile solution, where users connect to an Arc server. The Arc server functions as their gateway, but the client server Arc protocol is totally trustless. So the user can have full self-custody. They sign all their transactions. They always have an emergency exit available that they can use whether the server goes offline or becomes malicious. So the user is always in full control of their funds. But you can route Lightning payments very easily.
How should Bitcoiners think about Arc compared to Lightning? Is it a replacement or is it a teammate of sorts?
Yeah, so like I said, it's definitely a like complement. So it's like a last mile solution, especially initially. Maybe in the future, also routing channels could exist on the Arc if like on-chain fees would go really high. Currently, that's not really an interesting path. So we're mostly focusing on end users who want to have self-custodial Lightning, receive, send, but don't want to maintain channels, don't want to have the on-chain cost of like creating channels, managing their inbound liquidity. So it's basically a companion for the last mile for the users, which can be merchants, which can be like regular users with a phone wallet, stuff like that, sending Lightning payments.
So can you give us a quick overview on the user experience? What does it look like for the end user?
Yeah, so the end user, like we're building an SDK, right? So our users are developers, and these developers hopefully will create like amazing wallets for end users. And for an end user, the experience is pretty seamless. So you don't have any setup. You just create a wallet, you write down your 12 words or whatever your wallet can store the words in, like your phone device or on your cloud, something like that. So wallets can choose there, but you basically have your seed, your seed phrase, and then you get a balance that you can use to both send on-chain payments, Lightning payments, receive Lightning payments, and you don't see like amount capacity errors, you don't see channel closures, you don't see like even the word channel at all. So it's an experience pretty close to like the on-chain experience, only that you can do Lightning and your payments can be instantaneous and really cheap. The cost of ARC payments are kind of just paying the operator, the server, to maintain the ARC itself, which is almost kind of a fixed cost. So like the ARC server makes on-chain payments to basically anchor all the users' funds into the blockchain. And the more users are in the ARC, the lower the cost per user will be for this to exist. Currently, our server is kind of subsidizing this cost while we're like growing adoption. But eventually, like it will probably just be divided by all the users, and it should be a really small cost to have your balance in the ARC.
What is the developer experience like with Bark SDK, and what languages does it support?
Yeah, so we have three big pillars. Obviously, our SDK is written in Rust, so Rust is always going to get the best developer experience. All our APIs are natively Rust. And then we have what we call Bark D, which is basically a standalone program that runs all the background tasks and maintenance that you need to do. And it gives you a nice HTTP REST interface that you can then just from any system call into to make payments, check your balance, but it will do all the heavy lifting in the background. And then we have language bindings, which are libraries in different programming languages that also like call into the Rust code and run the background processes in the background. We currently support TypeScript, both for React Native and for web. We support Swift, we support Kotlin, we support Dart for Flutter. We even support Python and Go. Basically any of the languages that the UniFFI framework provides. We did a bit of custom tweaking for each of the languages to make sure that all the like background async working works nicely. But other than that, you get like the full API experience in all of those languages.
I see. And so just making sure I've got my understanding correct, there's, I guess, different parts to this puzzle, because you could be using Bark SDK to build an app. And then on the another option would be, as we mentioned, Bark D, which is like Bark Daemon, right? You are running this for your online service. And then on your side, you're running the Arc server, which I believe is Captain D, but that's more like your server that's managing the refreshing
Yes, yeah.
and these components. So is that correct? Those three kind of pieces to this puzzle?
Yeah, so we run the Arc server, which we call Captain D. Users who want to integrate don't have to worry about that at all. They just need to know our endpoints. Obviously, the server is also open source, so anyone can run their own server if they're interested in doing that. And yeah, so you have BarkD, which is kind of like a mini server that then connects to our actual Arc server. This is definitely useful for systems that are always online. For example, for the BTC Pay server plugin, we use this.
So let's talk a little bit about BarkD. Can you explain on BarkD for merchants and online services? Explain a little bit about that. What does that look like? How is it helping them to accept ARC payments?
Yeah, so it's a small daemon program that has an easy API that you can just ask balance for. You can ask your history of all your payments. You can create invoices, send payments, and the program will be running in the background. So it will make sure that whenever your VTXOs need to be refreshed, because in Arc, VTXOs need to be periodically refreshed, it will do all of that in the background automatically. So you don't have to do any like special calls for that. And for systems that are always online, this is definitely the best solution. Some stuff like merchants, BTC Pay servers, umbrellas, systems like that, they can just run the BarkD. It will do everything for you. And whenever you need to know something, you can just ask it, what's my balance? What are my transactions? Stuff like that.
And I notice you have put out some new dev tools, one of which is the VTXO Inspector. So what is the VTXO Inspector?
Yeah, it's kind of like a web page where you can visualize some of the internals of the VTXOs. There's definitely, the deeper you dig into the Arc protocol, the more technical new things come up. We try to hide most of that in our SDK. So if you want to use it, you don't need to know those things, but some users might be interested in that. Some developers might want to understand how they want to expose these things. So we created a visualizer for VTXOs, which show you, like, for example, your unilateral exit path or your emergency exit path. It shows all the transactions you'll have to broadcast. It can show you, for example, how much total virtual bytes or transaction weight you have for your VTXO, stuff like that.
Gotcha. And so I've got my understanding correct, and for listeners also, the idea is when you can kind of receive these VTXOs, but they're not on chain until you actually need to hit the chain. I guess that's the point. Like, this is off-chain scaling, so the user can onboard into an Arc wallet without actually going on chain. He has a VTXO. That's the point what we're talking about here, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so the whole point is that as long as the Arc server is cooperating with its users, no one has to broadcast Bitcoin transactions except for the server doing it once per hour. So one transaction per hour can basically anchor all the Arc funds into the blockchain. And only when the server disappears or is acting in a bad way, the users broadcast the transactions that they have in their local databases to get their funds back on chain. Similar to how when you have a Lightning channel, you also have like all your HTLCs that are going on in your Lightning channel and your like commitment transactions that you broadcast in the case of your channel peer going offline.
Gotcha. You mentioned a little bit earlier about some wallets. What's the current status of adoption and what's coming next there?
Yeah, so we went live last week. Some of the integrations that we announced, we've been working with them for over a year. So these people were also very excited to go live with us, especially Noah and RK. We're going to
RK, just for listeners, that's ARKE, yeah?
Yeah, RK.
Yeah, just for, if you're listening, you might not see that. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
We're definitely getting very positive feedback from the first week. And we're going to see how it will go. We're going to launch our BTC server plugin very soon. So we also hope that this can like drive people to more easily onboard merchants into Lightning payments. Going next, we have a bunch more people interested in integrating. The launch definitely triggered people to take us seriously and think about if they can integrate Lightning using Bark. So yeah, we're super excited that we have a pipeline full of integrations and we're going to be announcing them as they finish.
And can you explain a little bit on the fees in Arc? As I understand, it's maybe a little bit closer to like a liquidity leasing model. But the important difference is it's not like in Lightning where it's per channel. It's maybe done kind of more as a cohort. Can you explain a bit of that?
Yeah, so the Arc server sets the fee policy. The cost for the Arc server to route your payment is kind of in a non-trivial way dependent on how old your VTXOs are and all that. So we try to simplify that a bit. So we basically have for each of the outgoing payment types, we have 3 tiers. So if your VTXO is less than 7 days towards expiry, you pay 0.2%. If it's between 14 and 7 days, you pay 0.4%. And then over 14 days, you pay 0.5%. We expect that a user that has several VTXOs, just like a Bitcoin wallet has several UTXOs because you like at regular intervals receive some. Most users will be able to make some payments in the cheapest category because the wallet automatically picks the cheapest VTXOs to use. So it will always try to get the soonest expiring VTXOs first to get the lowest fee category. You can find it all on our website. It's very clearly explained. We have the offboard, we have the like on-chain payment fee, Lightning send fee, refresh fee. Lightning receives are free and Arc payments are also free. So if you transact within the Arc, you can get totally free transactions. Receiving Lightning is also free and sending.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this is best for payments and hot wallets. This is not like a long-term cold storage thing, right? And a quick overview of the transaction types. So we can take them one at a time. There's boarding, refresh, and out-of-round transaction. So what is a boarding transaction?
Yeah, so boarding is what you use to enter into the Arc with your existing on-chain funds. So with our SDK, we generalized, we abstracted the on-chain wallet, so people that already have an on-chain wallet implemented can basically use this on-chain wallet, or we support PSBT where you can just ask your hardware signing device to onboard some of your funds. So with boarding, we mean getting some of your on-chain funds into the Arc. And then we have offboarding, which is the other way around, which is basically sending your funds into the Arc to an on-chain address. You can do this just to send, or you can say offboard all, basically get all my money out of the Arc. That's one of the types that you have available. And then the Arc core transactions or out of round, which we now
out of round transaction
to call like Arc transactions, are basically the transactions that happen inside the Arc, so that you don't need.
And this is like an off-chain transaction, right? Like I'm sending to you, it doesn't actually hit the chain. That's the point.
Exactly, it doesn't hit the chain, and you don't need to use the Lightning gateway, so there's no Lightning fee there, so it's totally free.
Gotcha. And then the refresh, that's just like this monthly thing, or what's that? Oh, you said every hour. Sorry, explain that for me.
Every hour, every user has a chance to refresh their VTXOs. They have to do it only once a month, right? So every month, VTXO...
I gotcha. So I guess on your side, the Arc server is doing it like once an hour. But let's say if I'm the end user, I just need to make sure my wallet comes online to do that refresh once a month. Is that
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you
Gotcha.
come online about once a month, depending on how many VTXOs you have, but if you come online about once a month, you just send the server like, hey, I want to refresh my VTXOs, and in the next hour, the server will do it for you and tell you like, hey, here's the new VTXO that you get.
Excellent. All right, now a very quick summary that I've put together just for listeners to take away. So this is self-custodial with keys on the device. You control your funds, you can unilaterally exit. There's no channel management and very quick onboarding. The VTXO expires every 30 days, so users have to refresh. Otherwise, the Arc server can claim the funds. The refresh is very simple. Bark SDK provides the tools, but wallet builders just sign up for a refresh regularly. There's a very low on-chain footprint. As you mentioned, one on-chain transaction can support thousands of users. The Arc server provides the liquidity, but it's leased to users by the server on demand for payments and refreshes. As we mentioned, there are multiple language SDKs, easy to build wallets, and BarkD is a good one for merchants to consider. And this is designed for active use, best for payments and hot wallets, not long-term cold storage. So yeah, Stephan, thank you for joining me today. So listeners, my guest is Stephan Roose from Second. You can find them over at second.tech. Stephan, thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot.